The Septa Polarizing GE Silverliner 4's. The General Electric Silverliner 4's were delivered as single-unit cars to both the Reading Company and Penn Central in the mid-1970s, and subsequently additional cars that were twin-unit cars filled out the roster, up to like 280-something cars. And they've lasted almost 50 years. And even today, these cars are still toiling on the Septa system, and on the Trenton line, they can reach speeds routinely of 95 miles per hour. You have to salute these durable cars. Unfortunately, appearance-wise, they don't win any awards. They're on the buzzard scale. With that long dynamic brake blister on top and the small windows, it looks like some heavy object was dropped out of an airplane onto the top of these cars and crushed them. They just never looked good compared to the Arrow MUs, which look similar to these cars. Now, these cars have abhorrent, repugnant, and deplorable horns on them. Just disgusting. And lately, they've been catching fire frequently. I've heard jokes around the system. How is a ribeye steak and a Silverliner 4 similar? They are both flame broiled. And how is Leonardo DiCaprio and a Silverliner 4 similar? They are both heavy smokers. And as far as the horns go, another joke I've heard is, how are the horns on the Silverliner 4s similar to the top of Pikes Peak? They are both low on oxygen. And as far as the appearance of the cars, I've heard farmers have gotten posters of these cars so they can use them as scarecrows. Now, you'll get to see the Silverliners in current everyday operations today, but we'll add a different twist to be on the nostalgic side. Instead of listening to these raucous Silverliner 4 horns of today, we'll harken back to an earlier era of Septa, back when the roster was loaded with Bud and St. Louis Car Company's stainless steel Silverliner cars. They were gorgeous cars. Those cars were fitted with Westinghouse AA2 horns, which made for a rather nostalgic sound. You'll hear a lot of them on this video. In fact, you'll see Engineer Bill appear a couple of times on this video, and I'm sure if he was running trains back then, he would be very enthusiastic about running those Bud cars. I'll try to replicate just how he might have felt running those classic stainless steel cars. On this video, you are going to see nothing but Silverliner 4s. Give these cars a lot of attention. This video should satisfy you Silverliner 4 lovers and you Silverliner 4 haters. That's why I say they're polarizing. Now, these are great, durable cars. Let's face it, they've been around a while. The current Silverliner 5 fleet by Hyundai Rotem in all likelihood won't last nearly as long as these cars do. But they were never really that attractive looking with that dynamic brake blister on top and the small windows. It just, especially with the missing center door, it just has an unbalanced look. They would have looked a lot better or more improved with a full-length body of windows instead of that center door cutout. Now, the Silverliner 5s have that large dynamic brake blister on top, but they at least have doors on the side and larger windows to sort of balance that out. Now, the Silverliner 4 car order, they numbered a total of 230 plus cars, not the 280 plus cars that I mentioned in my intro. Now, each car puts out 550 horsepower. They don't quite accelerate as fast as a Silverliner 5 does, but they do all right for themselves. Now, for you Silverliner 4 haters who can't stand listening to those S2M horns, I took the liberty of doing some very careful editing. So what you're going to hear instead are the Westinghouse AA2 type horns that the older Bud and St. Louis Car Company Silverliner cars had. So it'll bring back a sense of nostalgia of an earlier Septa era. And I think you'll enjoy the editing that I did to make these look and sound as realistic as possible, almost like live audio. So I hope you enjoy that as we see this cavalcade of the GE Septa Silverliner 4 cars. There are two exceptions on this video where you don't hear the Westinghouse AA2 horns. One of them is actually an actual Silverliner 4 horn filmed live, car 370, which is very loud and sounds very similar to those annoying Long Island Railroad C3 cab car horns. And you'll also see one Silverliner 4 run by with a Silverliner 5 horn on it. Wishful thinking. I had a lot of fun doing this. Now, I want to be completely fair here and give these cars their due and respect as they've lasted so long and performed faithful service. Don't know exactly what's going to replace these cars. They talk about the Silver 6's, but nobody seems to know what they're going to look like and when they're going to come. So these cars are going to be around for a while longer. And the shop forces will have to work very hard to keep these things in service, considering the mechanical problems and fires that they have been recently experiencing. But they'll keep soldiering on as long as necessary. With the Silverliner 5 fleet and the push-pulls, they'll keep the Septa trains running as best they can. Inward. And his next stop will be Bridesburg. Silverliner 4's. Next stop, right up the street at Holmesburg Junction. Alright, he's switching over to 1, heading into town. And you heard that pea shooter of a horn as he came into the station. Headed for Newark, Delaware. Leaving 4:55. And there goes 6596 for Lansdale. And in the background, just barely between those light colored buildings, you can see the top of Philadelphia City Hall. Years ago that was easily seen from here, but with the building boom over the last couple of decades, it's well hidden. Sounds more like a steam engine. Hey, gads, I thought the Silverliner 5's brakes were bad. These are rupturing my eardrums. My 4th grade teacher scraping the blackboard with a long fingernails, much more tolerable to the ears. Next stop for him will be Croydon. Ouch. Silverliner Hill West is closer to the action than Chestnut Hill East Station is. Here he goes. At 4:56. Look at that.
Next to arrive on track.
I'm on the wrong end. Yeah, that's beautiful. And that Septa logo on the left, Reading lines on the right. This used to be an old Reading Company Silverliner 4. It was the first one delivered to Septa. It was originally numbered 9018 on the Reading. Right after the 17-car order of the Bud Silverliners that the Reading had. Looks like an RMU on New Jersey Transit with that bare front pretty much. Here it goes. Should have the Silverliner 4 number 280 in the rear. Yeah, without the striping, it really changes the appearance of this car dramatically. Reading lines. That's who it toiled under when it was delivered back in '74, I think. Reading still existed until April 1st of '76, when it was amalgamated into Conrail. And I hear they're gonna have some heritage Silverliner cars or whatever in the Penn Central, Septa, and some other livery. All right, Bill. Have a good trip. We're good. Chestnut Hill East to Chestnut Hill West. It ends a few blocks south from where it began. There are a few of those trains running around that run between Chestnut Hill East and Chestnut Hill West, and vice versa.
but we're doing the best we can. Support your local railroad. Support your local railroad.
You'll be there.